A grandmother's fury. Unearthing a horrifying secret at her grandchild's funeral. The day before my grandchild's funeral, I heard a voice from the coffin. On the day before my granddaughter's funeral, a faint voice pierced the silence. Ah, what? I strained my ears. It seemed to be coming from inside the coffin. Trembling with fear, I pried open the lid. There, bound in chains, was my 3-year-old granddaughter Lily, who was supposed to have died from illness. I couldn't comprehend what was happening. "Grandma, help," Lily whispered. Unbelievable facts tumbled from her lips, leaving me speechless. How could this be happening? The anger welling up inside me exceeded my limits of patience. I lost my husband in an accident when I was 38. A widow. I devoted all my energy to raising my son Michael, who was 13 at the time. When Michael was 34, he married a woman named Jessica. "You can finally relax now," my friend said, acknowledging my years of hard work. Michael and Jessica lived about a 30-minute drive from my house, maintaining a comfortable distance. Soon after their marriage, we found out Jessica was pregnant, and I eagerly awaited the birth of my first grandchild. When Jessica was in her 3rd trimester, I visited their house to share some vegetables. We weren't sure about the baby's gender for a while, but it turned out it was a girl. "It's a girl," Michael said. "Oh, how exciting," I replied. "Yes, but I really wanted a boy," he sighed. The couple seemed visibly disappointed the baby wasn't their desired gender. "With a girl, you'll have the joy of choosing cute outfits," I said, trying to cheer them up. Of course, I thought the gender didn't matter as long as the baby was born healthy, but I was trying to boost their spirits. However, they were so shocked they didn't respond at all. Still, I thought once they saw their adorable newborn, they'd forget they ever felt that way. A few months later, my granddaughter, Lily, was born safely. She was the sweetest little girl. I truly understood the saying, "Too precious for words." I visited my son and daughter-in-law whenever I could to see my granddaughter. However, as I observed the two of them, something bothered me. Even when Lily cried for a long time, they hardly paid attention to her. "Oh my, what's wrong?" I'd say, reaching out to pick her up. But Jessica would glare at me. "Mother-in-law, don't do that. She'll get used to being held." But isn't it pitiful to leave her crying like this? I was trying to help Jessica feel a bit more relaxed, but it seemed that wasn't the right thing to do. Michael chimed in with a bitter expression. "She's just fussy because she's sleepy. It's trendy now to teach them to sleep on their own from an early age." They both looked annoyed that I had voiced my opinion. "I suppose child rearing has changed a lot since my day," I said, deciding to step back and observe for a while. However, as Lily grew, my doubts about my son and daughter-in-law's parenting only increased. When I visited their house, Lily was always wearing ill-fitting clothes, and she would eagerly devour the snacks I brought as if she were starving. Are they really taking proper care of her? Worried, I tried to talk to my son about it, hoping to offer some help. "Stop nagging. Don't interfere with how we raise our child," Michael shouted, refusing to listen. What's more, every time I said something, he started treating Lily roughly. Witnessing such behavior, I found myself unable to speak up and decided to keep quiet. A little while later, around Lily's 3rd birthday, Jessica became pregnant with their 2nd child. While I was babysitting Lily during their prenatal checkup, they returned home overjoyed. They had found out their next child would be a boy. "Yes, I'm so excited," Michael exclaimed. "That's wonderful news. Lily, you're going to have a little brother," I said. "Yes, I can't wait to meet my brother," Lily cheered. Seeing Michael and Jessica's happiness and Lily's joy, I felt relieved. Maybe they're slowly becoming a real family, I thought. However, my relief was short-lived. Around this time, Lily started falling ill frequently. Several times I'd receive a message from Michael the day before a planned visit saying, "Tomorrow won't work." When I asked why, he'd say Lily wasn't feeling well. Even when I offered to visit and check on her, they refused. After persistent pleading, they finally allowed me to come over, and I rushed to their house. When I finally saw Lily after a long time, she looked emaciated. "Doesn't she need to be hospitalized? If she's at home, it can't be that serious, right?" I asked. Michael hung his head, covering his face with his hands. We thought it would be better for her to spend her remaining time at home, he said, his voice trembling. Hearing my son speak like this, I knew something was terribly wrong. What's her diagnosis? It must be quite serious, right? I was filled with disbelief and a desire to take Lily's place if I could. After that, I visited Lily as often as time allowed, but my son and daughter-in-law gradually prevented me from seeing her, saying it might tire her out. This went on for about a month and then it happened. Suddenly, Lily has passed away. Michael informed me and my world went dark. She was only 3 years old. She had so many joyful experiences ahead of her. Thinking about how I couldn't do anything for her, I broke down in tears. I was also worried about Jessica, who was in her final month of pregnancy, and my heart ached imagining how devastated she must be. When I went to my son's house, funeral preparations were underway, and Lily was already in her coffin. As I approached the coffin, wanting to see Lily's face, Michael, who had just entered the room, stopped me. "No, don't open it," he said. "She went through tough treatment, so her body is in bad shape. I don't want you to see her like that." That bad? I imagined a truly horrific end, unable to even see Lily's face, though part of me couldn't accept it. I tried to tell myself that Lily would always be in my heart. Changing the subject, I asked my son if there was anything I could help with, but he said, "We're fine for now." So I decided to go home for the time being. The next day I visited their house again. It was the day of the funeral, but strangely, no one else had arrived yet besides me. "Who else is coming?" I asked. "No one. We want to send her off quietly, just as family," Michael replied. "Jessica's parents are working overseas. We contacted them, but they said they couldn't make it in time for the funeral, though they'd definitely come later." I understood it was sudden, and it might be difficult for them to return at such short notice. "We'll give Lily a proper send-off, even if it's just us," I thought. I was standing in front of the coffin, reminiscing about the time I spent with Lily, when Michael's phone rang, and he stepped outside to take the call. At that moment I heard a faint, "Help me," coming from somewhere. Listening closely, it seemed to be coming from inside the coffin. Trembling, I was confused by this sudden turn of events, but I knew without a doubt that my son and daughter-in-law were involved. I quickly helped Lily out and hid her in the closet, telling her, "Wait here for just a bit, okay? Jessica's gone into labor." Michael came running back, his voice full of excitement. "I'm taking Jessica to the hospital now, so you should go home," he said, gathering his wife's belongings and tidying himself up. "What about Lily's funeral?" I asked. "That's not important right now. Now the boy who's about to be born is what matters." He said this as if it were the most natural thing in the world, without even a change in his expression. "But it's sad to leave Lily alone. I'll stay here and keep watch," I suggested. "He's so cute. This is my little brother, right?" Seeing this, my son and his wife were visibly shocked, looking back and forth between Lily and me. "Oh, my Lily." I pretended to be surprised by her appearance. "You opened the coffin, didn't I tell you not to?" Timothy confronted me, his tone harsh. I glared back at him. "How could you chain her up and lock her in a coffin? That's despicable." "Huh, that's none of your business, is it?" I explained how I discovered Lily when I opened the coffin lid. Lily's mouth was covered with cloth, but it had slipped a bit, allowing her to call for help. Just imagine how scared Lily must have been, unable to move in that dark box. As I started to say this, my son suddenly hugged Lily tightly. "You came back to life. That's great, isn't it, Sarah?" "Yes, it really is." They were putting on an exaggerated act, thinking they could fool me. "Lily, can you tell me why you were in that box?" I asked my granddaughter with a gentle smile. "Well, Daddy and Mommy wrapped me up tight. Then they said a devil was coming, so I had to wait there," Lily explained, stumbling over her words but trying her best. "She's saying this, but can you explain what it means?" I asked. Michael had lost his earlier bravado and became less talkative. Not wanting Lily to see me corner her parents, I beckoned her and said, "I need to have an important talk with your parents now. Can you wait in the hallway with my friend? Okay?" "Okay. I understand," she replied. I had asked a friend to come along and help me with this situation. After confirming that Lily had left the room, I slowly turned to face Michael and Jessica. Now I need you to explain everything clearly, I said. Unable to withstand my piercing gaze, they quickly averted their eyes. You can't believe what a child says. That's right. She's only 3 years old. Her memory can't be trusted. They desperately tried to deny their actions, refusing to admit what they had done. I took out a notebook from my bag and held it out to them. But what's written here is true, isn't it? Michael's voice cracked as he asked, How did you? This notebook contained details of their plan. The funeral is fake, meant to deceive Mom. Further down, it was written that if Lily died, they expected to receive financial aid for funeral expenses. I had found this while searching their room after they had rushed to the hospital when Jessica went into labor. It's the worst to snoop around someone else's house. But that's just notes I took about an interesting mystery drama I saw on TV the other day, my son declared boldly, snatching the notebook from me. He looked triumphant, but of course, this wasn't the end. Then what about this? I said, pulling out another document from my bag and thrusting it at Michael. What's this all about? He demanded. It was Lily's medical report. When I rescued Lily and hugged her, she winced in pain, saying it hurts. When I lifted her clothes to check, I saw several bruises on her body. Suspecting my son and daughter-in-law of mistreating her, I immediately took her to the hospital. The doctor told me, this child has been regularly subjected to physical abuse, and her nutritional state is poor. Is she not being fed properly? He then provided me with this medical report. So that's why Lily devoured the food so eagerly when I brought some to your house before, I said. They kept their heads down, not answering. What's going on? Why are you doing this? I pressed further. At first, my son wouldn't even meet my eyes, but then he sat down in a chair, manspreading. We wanted a boy, but she was born a girl. That's the problem, he blurted out. Children are precious gifts. I said. No way. Girls are useless, aren't they? Michael started talking nonstop as if he had given up trying to hide anything. He explained that once they found out their second child was a boy, they decided they no longer needed Lily. However, they thought it would be suspicious if she suddenly disappeared. So they came up with the plan to pretend she was sick and eventually claim she had died. Well, we haven't been feeding her properly lately, so we thought she'd eventually just weaken and die on her own. My son said this with a smirk, casually admitting to such a terrible thing without any hesitation. There was one thing I couldn't understand. Even though you say that, you didn't actually kill her. Isn't that because deep down as parents you truly love Lily? I asked. Michael and Jessica looked at each other, then burst out laughing. Love? There's no such thing. If she died, we'd lose the child support payments and our income would decrease, right? That's right. The only one we want to love is this son, Jessica said lovingly, stroking the baby's head she was holding. At that moment I realized my anger had reached its peak. If that's the case, there was no need to chain her up and put her in a coffin, I shouted, suppressing the urge to slap them both. However, my anger didn't seem to affect them at all. But that wouldn't create the right atmosphere, you know? Besides, kids can do unexpected things, so we thought it would be safer to keep her restrained and locked in the coffin, my son said matter-of-factly. My body trembled with rage at his nonchalant attitude. Also, you always come to our house and dote on Lily, so we were worried she might tell you what we've been doing to her someday, Michael continued. So that's why you pretended Lily was dead. You thought I wouldn't come around anymore. I asked. Bingo, Michael said with a grin. Now that we have our boy, you can have Lily if you want her, he added. That's right. We don't need her anymore, so do whatever you like with her. Jessica chimed in. They were treating Lily like an object, and worse, they seemed to be enjoying it. Before I knew it, I had grabbed my son by the collar. Want to fight? I won't go easy on you just because you're my mother, Michael said provocatively. But I realized that if I gave in to this, I'd be no better than them, so I let go of my son and glared at them both. I'll raise Lily and your newborn son myself, I declared. What are you, crazy? We're not giving up our son. No way, they shouted angrily. It was time to deliver the final blow of my punishment. I've already reported this incident to the police and Child Protective Services. You should be prepared for how the authorities will judge parents who abuse their children, I said. As soon as I said this, Jessica grabbed Michael's arm and kept shaking it, pleading, "What are we going to do?" over and over. But Michael just stood there dumbfounded, unable to answer. I think the police might be arriving here soon, I added. Wait a minute. What if they really take our son away? What should we do? Michael asked. That's not my problem. You brought this on yourselves, I replied coldly. We'll take good care of Lily from now on, so please tell them your report was a mistake, they begged. Bowing their heads to me as if I could believe that. I said, pushing them away. They muttered, "What should we do?" and slumped down where they stood. After that, Michael and Jessica were arrested, and the children were temporarily placed in protective custody. The incident was widely reported in the news and weekly magazines, with my son and daughter-in-law's names and faces exposed. Even after their release from prison, they'll likely live the rest of their lives being pointed at and whispered about. As for me, I ended up taking in and raising both grandchildren. With another precious little one added to my life, I can't stop smiling. My friends tell me, "You look so youthful these days." Perhaps it's because I have a new purpose in life. I'm not entirely displeased with the compliment. Lily is a great help around the house, and I'm truly grateful for her. I'm determined to stay healthy and energetic, so I can watch my grandchildren grow up. That's what I'm focusing on now.